My name is Ada Schisler. I'm president of Sanibel Beautification and the Periwinkle Partnership on Sanibel Island, Florida. And I have a story to tell. It's a story about devastation, but it's also a story about cooperation, coordination, and restoration. The devastation occurred on August 13, 2004, when Hurricane Charley made a direct hit on Sanibel Island. Although the damage was widespread, nowhere was it more heartbreakingly apparent than on the island's main thoroughfare of Periwinkle Way, where prior to the storm, towering Australian pines formed a unique and lovely lacy green canopy above the roadway. But the storm's 140-mile-an-hour winds toppled the shallow-rooted trees like tinker toys, leaving giant root systems which closed the road for days and took months to clear away, and destroyed the canopy that we had known forever. In the aftermath of the storm, 3 island organizations came together to form an organization called the Periwinkle Partnership to cooperate with the city of Sanibel in the effort to restore Periwinkle Way. The first of these is Sanibel Beautification, an all-volunteer nonprofit organization that was formed in the year 2000 for the purpose of raising funds to plant and maintain native vegetation on the island's roadways and right-of-ways. 2 major projects had already been completed: the landscaping of the Causeway intersection and the landscaping of the Lindgren Boulevard medians. The Sanibel Captiva Conservation Foundation is dedicated to preserving natural resources and wildlife habitat on and around Sanibel and Captiva Islands. They manage over 1,300 acres on the island and an additional 500 acres on Pine Island. They conduct research and education on environmental matters and are very proactive in ecological concerns around the islands. This group has a membership of approximately 2,700 members. The Sanibel Captiva Chamber of Commerce promotes tourism and business on the islands, and it maintains an outstanding award-winning website which receives over 800,000 hits annually, and it welcomes 187,000 visitors annually with a membership of 568 businesses and individuals. A board was formed for the Periwinkle Project from a group of talented, dedicated community leaders who had varied backgrounds, skills, talents, professions, and organizational affiliations. I'm sure when they signed up for this project that they had no idea that they were taking on a 5-year commitment. But they've been very patient, very persistent, and very generous with their time and their talents. board worked together with the very professional, knowledgeable, and cooperative staff from the city of Sanibel. The city hired Vanessa Daler, a Fort Myers landscape design firm, to develop a plan for the restoration of Periwinkle Way. Vanessa Daler had broad experience dealing with native plantings and was very sensitive to Sanibel sensibilities. Vanessa Daler held community workshops at the Sanibel School, where public input was sought in the selection of priorities for the restoration project. Ideas, preferences, types of amenities were suggested by the community were incorporated in the final design. From the workshops, these three priorities emerged: restoration of the canopy, improved safety along the shared use paths, and amenities such as rest stops and fountains for the shared use path. A brochure was developed detailing the plans for the Periwinkle project, and a fundraising campaign was initiated. It focused mainly on direct mail and local advertising. The local community responded with usual generosity from both individuals and businesses, but support also poured in from 27 different states and several foreign countries, from people who love Sanibel and wanted to help heal its wounds. Contributions totaled $209,693. In addition, the Periwinkle project received matching funds grant from the Lee County Roadway Advisory Committee in the amount of $163,000. At the same time, the city had applied for and received grants from the state of Florida Department of Forestry totaling $374,800 and some dollars. The Lee County grant limited the size of trees to 15 gallons because they were less expensive, easier to establish, they grow more quickly, and are less costly to replace. We did, however, spend an additional $32,000 in partnership funds to purchase some larger trees to produce canopy more quickly in some of the more heavily damaged areas. The funds were in place, but the restoration had to be coordinated and properly sequenced to take into consideration a number of factors. Surveys had to be done to establish the right location of property lines, utility lines, right-of-way, and line-of-sight measurements. Public works infrastructure projects dealing with drainage issues along Periwinkle Way and safety issues along the shared use paths were addressed. When we were finally ready to plant, volunteers showed up with energy and enthusiasm. It was truly a community effort, with volunteers coming from a number of organizations, including Sanibel Beautification, the Association of Realtors, the Master Gardeners, the Lions Club. Lions Club also donated the benches used in our gardens, and Billy's Bike Rental donated the bike racks. The plants we used were relatively small for a number of the same reasons. They're more easily established, they grow quickly, and they're less costly to replace. Plantings will continue to grow and become more mature and beautiful with time. And of course, everything we planted was native, because the native plants are well adapted to our climate. They can withstand the harsh conditions of long, hot, dry spells to be followed with long, wet spells. And the native plants provide habitat and food for wildlife, birds, insects, and play an integral part in the island ecosystem. With this project, we were working in uncharted territory. No one had had experience with hurricane recovery, and as the project evolved, there were unanticipated obstacles, challenges, and opportunities that caused us to modify our plans, but ultimately creating an even more unique and interesting ambiance. To commemorate the completion of the project, a memorial garden has been created along the shared use path between the Island Cow and the Sanibel Community Association. It features a stone with a brass plaque, bench, and a bike rack, and a small seating area across the street at Periwinkle and Dunlop was also created. The following scenes show the completed gardens, and they are presented in order as you would come across the causeway and up Periwinkle Way. The first garden is at the Chamber of Commerce, where an inviting shady area contains benches and a picnic table where visitors can relax as they make their plans for how and where they spend their time while visiting the island. Further on at Bailey Road is a rest area for users of the shared use path. This is also a bus stop for school children. At the Donax intersection, we were limited by the line of sight and right-of-way requirements, so our planting was restricted to ground plantings and camouflage of the utility pole and wires. Adjacent to Beachview Golf Course at the crossover to Roadside Park is another small rest area. Roadside Park features a picnic area with abundant parking. picnic tables here rest on a cement pad that was formerly the foundation of the original Sanibel firehouse. This garden contains one of our 3-tier water fountains with faucets for adults, children and handicapped, and for pets as well. The next garden is at Mango Bay. Provides another rest area from off the shared use path. People can pull off and relax, take a breather, investigate and enjoy some of the vegetation and plantings. Most recently planted is the understory planting of many of the new trees planted by the city. These understory plantings form a symbiotic relationship with the trees. They help to hold the moisture, providing habitat for birds, insects, and wildlife. The trees provide shade and protection for the plants, and the completed planting creates a more interesting and attractive roadscape while making maintenance simpler, easier, and less expensive. There are places along the shared use path where canopy exists, forming a shady green tunnel which enhances the experience for those using the paths. Although the trees have only been planted for 2 years, there are places along Periwinkle Way where you can see that the trees are reaching out to start to reform canopy. And eventually we will have a canopy. At the intersection of Periwinkle Way and Palm Ridge Road, a native plant botanical garden has been established. It is accessed from the parking area of the Palm Ridge Shopping Center or the shared use path. This garden contains 29 different native trees, plants, shrubs, and grasses, which are all identified and described, so that visitors can get a sense of their function and importance in the island ecosystem. Interpretive tours of the garden are available upon request. These tours are guided by volunteers from the City Vegetation Committee or the Master Gardeners and are very educational and informative. They help create awareness of the importance of native vegetation. Several of those tours have already been given, one of which was to the Sanibel Green team from the Sanibel School. This garden also contains one of our fountains, bike racks, picnic tables, and trash containers. Native plantings are well adapted to this climate. They can withstand our harsh heat and the long periods of wet. They require no additional water or fertilizer, and they contribute greatly to the balance of nature in the area. All these plantings will continue to grow and become more beautiful as they mature. This project is a demonstration of the resilience, resolve, and love of community shared by those who have participated in it. By combining our resources with the city, utilizing their grants and staff, combined with the partnership donations, grant, and volunteers, we have actually been able to accomplish a great deal more than we originally envisioned. Change is inevitable. The best we can do is try to make it a change for the better. The invasive Australian pines have been replaced with a variety of native trees which should withstand future storms. The roadway has been moved to provide more distance between the roadway and the shared use paths and create greater safety. Rest areas have been created to provide comfort and convenience for the users of the shared use paths. The motto of the Periwinkle Partnership has been, "A country grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they will never enjoy." But we would like to modify that to say, "A community grows great when it provides comfort, convenience, and beauty to be enjoyed by future generations."